You're now tuned in to the Dollars Not Cents radio show with your hosts, Anthony, Stephen, and Monica. The show that educates you about money and exposes the nonsense that we've been taught about money with a current news view. Get your pen and paper ready. Let's get started.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear me. There you go. I can actually hear me now. How's that? Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good.
Awesome. Can you hear yourself, Jeff, over there?
I am here.
You're here? Oh, okay. You're in the house. Wow. Good morning, Stephen. How are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing well, Anthony. How's everybody doing?
Man, fantastic. A tad above perfect. Wow, you sound great this morning. You must have had some more breakfast in bed this morning.
Some fresh fruit.
Nah, not yet. I'm just, that's what you call faking it till you make it. I was so sleepy this morning. I'm just putting on my performance right now. I guess. You know how they say when it's time to perform, you got to perform. So no excuses. Let's get ready to go.
I know that's the truth. You have to be able to do that. You know that? One of the things that, of course, you get to stay in that. I was feeling like staying in the bed this morning. I was not feeling.
I think I rolled over into the floor first.
Well, you know what time I got up? I actually went to bed at 2:00 this morning because I had guests from out of town. Last night we had one of those palmetto bugs in the house.
Oh.
Monica and I were on the phone, and I will tell you, my boys, you're talking about teenage boys, 15 years old. You have any kids, Jeff?
I have two.
You have two? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get you on in a second. We have this morning with us Jeff Griffin. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Anthony.
Hey, Jeff.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on the show. We'll formally introduce you in just a minute. But my two boys, you would think that they all think they're men, right? They're 14, 15, they're teenagers now. And I'm like, they're screaming, I'm jumping on. I'm like, what are you doing? It's a bug. I'm like, get a shoe and kill the darn thing.
Anthony, that is hilarious. I never forget. You just made me think about a story. My son. One day he says, "Hey, it's a bug in the bathroom." I said, "Well, kill it." I said, "Where the bug is?" He said, "Well, no, it's gonna leave in the morning." I said, "What?"
No, you're gonna take up rent in your house.
Oh man.
He didn't want to kill it. He said, "Because it's probably gonna leave in the morning. Like it's gonna spend the night."
What?
Leave. Like what kind of what? I'm like, man, if you don't get your scary self in there and kill it, bro.
I had to go kill. I mean, they were jumping around like fleas on a dog.
It was very entertaining listening to it.
Oh my God! Yeah, Monica was on the phone. We were talking business. It seemed like that whole thing was going left. But it's really great. It's really great to always wake up anyways. And so, like I said, I was up and I was up on time, so dragging a little bit, but hey, I'm always fresh. You know what makes me up in the morning? Just being able to get on the show, being able to share with people and help as many people as can. So Judith L. Bentley, you are really, really quiet over there. You must be sleepy too.
Yes, I am.
You are.
Absolutely.
She's not a morning person, are you?
I am so not a morning person.
When you got to make $1 million, you got to get up early.
I am finding that out. Yes.
Jeff, what time did you get up this morning?
Wow.
See, I know.
That's being put on the spot, Anthony.
Like 6 minutes.
We won't tell anybody.
Right. You're ratting me out. No, the alarm was set for 5:30. And I had to give myself about 5 extra minutes.
He just laid there for 5 minutes. Like I do the same thing, and it seemed like that 5 minutes turned to 10 minutes sometimes. I'm like,
mine always turn into about 30.
How about those times you wake up that 1 minute before your alarm goes off and you're like, I'm gonna lay for
1 minute.
Like that 1 minute really gonna make that change. You're like, yeah, I'm just.
But you know what's so funny? My body is just has your internal clock. You have an internal clock, and it's funny because I seem to wake up to go to the bathroom at the same exact time every morning. And I'm wondering, how does that work? Because it's like 4:15. And I'm like, but this morning, because I went to bed late, it was 5:15. It's almost like the exact same amount of time that I wake up.
sleep.
Exactly, and I have to go to the bathroom at that time. I'm like, wow, this body is incredible, isn't it? But it's really, like I said, it's always great to be alive. So, guys, you're tuned in to Dollars Not Cents on TakingOverRadio.com, and we really appreciate Wayne for really having this station here. And of course, if you guys go to TakingOverRadio.com, you'll notice we have about 3 stations that are coming live, and right now there's even a gospel station. Hallelujah. Okay. Enough of my singing for the morning. So good morning. So this morning we have a special guest with us. And Jeff, I'm going to formally introduce you. Jeff Griffin is the general manager here at the Regus in the university area. What's your position here?
Yeah, that's right. General manager of the business center.
Okay.
And currently for both the University Research Center and for the Airsley Center in the southwest corner of Charlotte.
Oh, good. So if we need a deal, we know who to go to.
You
Yes.
come right here. That's right. That's right.
Stephen, you hear that?
I hear it. I was working with Miss Wendy Hill for a while there until I moved into South Park. So matter of fact, we need to get Regis to sponsor the show. How about that?
There you go.
There you go.
See, plug it in.
That's a good angle. I like that opportunity.
Well, it's awesome because, it's great because, what we do here, and Jeff, I know you're a first-time listener. Are you a first-time listener?
You're putting me on the spot again.
Hey, Jeff, you know what? You get on it. This is a morning show. We have fun. We go crazy.
I love it, though.
And guess what? I put Monica on the spot a lot of times.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah. I am
I
the
stay
spot.
ready
So I'm
now.
not singled out.
It doesn't
You're not.
hurt.
Our guests get singled out. Trust
Yeah.
me. You come on here, you got to expect a little bit of abuse. Okay.
Fair enough.
As long as you can take it back,
Right.
Oh, I can handle
you
it.
dish it, and I'll give it back.
Exactly. But Jeff, let me ask you a question. You know what? You've been working with Regus for how long now?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And you like it?
I do like it. Yeah.
I won't tell your boss if you didn't.
No, I mean, I
Of
wouldn't
course
say
you
if
can.
I didn't, but no, it's more than plenty to keep me getting up in the morning and easy to find the passion in what we do here.
It's so funny. You talk about passion, and it's incredible because whenever I see you, you're sitting in your office, you're working, you're here
smiling.
late, you're here early, and you leave late.
Yeah.
And I'm really, just impressed by your work ethic. And, is that something you developed on your own? Is that something that you inherited from your parents? What gives you your drive every morning?
And that's a good question. If there's one person I inherited it from, has to be my mom. So I think it was born into me. But there was the sense of pride in the work that you do, and believing in what you do and putting your heart into it, and that just shows. Like, you can't hide certain things, and you can't hide that.
Fantastic. Well, Jeff, your position actually is kind of like a sales position as well in the business. And I guess if you were to compare yourself to entrepreneurs out there that are trying to really build a small business, how would you compare yourself to them?
I have it easy.
You have it easy? Oh, you think so?
When you spend 2 years at Regus, you get to know solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and every day are surrounded by people who are making these critical business decisions. And you're crazy if you can't appreciate how brave each soul is that says, I'm going to take it upon myself to create a paycheck for myself by providing a product or service that I'm passionate about, that is missional, or that I know is going to be profitable. But when somebody says, you know what, I'm not going to rely on anyone or anything else but me for my livelihood and for my paycheck, that is a brave chasm to jump across. And they say chasms can't be crossed in 2 steps, Anthony. It's a 1-step thing. And yet that's a huge one to cross when you decide that that's the day that you're not going to rely on somebody else for your paycheck, for your income, and and you are the one who's going to have that destiny in your control. So I admire so deeply and respect the significance of risk that is taken and the burden of responsibility that each solopreneur and business owner that I have the privilege to support and help up and down the halls of the Regis offices has.
Well, that is so. I
love that answer.
Impressive. I really do.
I feel like voting for you.
Exactly.
I don't know what for.
Jeff for
I'm
president.
voting for Jeff.
I'm just being honest. I mean, in
it.
comparison, I have it easy. I have it easy, and the going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning piece becomes such a different game when somebody makes that leap across that chasm, says, I'm going to take it on myself, I'm going to provide paycheck and income and livelihood for myself. And I'm the first one to be honest and say I've got it on the easy side compared to those that I support and help.
Well, and it's so important that you actually do recognize that, because a lot of times people, it is a struggle when you are building a business, but it's challenging. I would say challenging. I wouldn't say struggle, because struggle kind of gets people scared. People are scared of the struggle, because in life there are struggles, right? I mean, even getting to the position where you are today, there is a challenge that you had to go through to get to the position that you're in. But what most entrepreneurs or people that come into the business don't realize, that there are a lot of planning, a lot of things that go into. You don't just jump into this thing just because you have an idea. And I think that's what, if you can recognize a lot of people that you've passed through, that you've talked to, that you've seen, what do you say is the common theme for people who make it and the people who don't make it?
Boy, I would say for those that make it, one of the common themes is either they are a veteran in their industry and they recognize and make a conscious decision, it's time for me to do it on my own.
Yes.
But they've got that wealth of knowledge from being in that industry and being successful in that industry. So I see that working, and I see that as a fundamental ingredient.
Wow.
Somebody who just says, well, I can see friends, neighbors, or others that have been successful in this industry, and I'm going to go do it too. I think that is a significant, steep hill to climb compared to somebody who's been in an industry and says, now it's time for me to just own my own thing in this industry. So I don't know if that's so obvious. It's like saying, hey,
you
look,
hit it on you hit the nail on the head. Bam.
Yeah. People saying it's time for me to take over my financial destiny and have more control over my own business and livelihood. But if they're really masters of their trade already, that's one obvious. The other thing, I mean, there are people who are successful that they probably, if we drilled into their stories, had maybe 2 or 3 times where it wasn't successful, but they've put safety nets in place so that it didn't completely destroy home and livelihood, and they've positioned themselves well where they can say, okay, it's time for me to do this, and now based on what I've learned in the past, now I can do it and be more productive and be more successful in it. So I see that on occasion.
Yes.
Where I know this isn't the first swing at bat. Actually,
it's not their first rodeo, right?
Right. And I'll butcher the quote, but I read a quote yesterday. It was a picture of Babe Ruth and had something to the effect of, if you cannot be afraid of striking out. And,
wow.
And there he is, the king, the icon of hitting home runs. And yet he had a ton of strikeouts, and it was this fear factor. And the whole idea was going into what you do with a sense of courage, boldness, bravery, and a sense of acceptance too. That there are some times where you're going to swing and miss, but what are the consequences
I
of that?
absolutely agree with you, Jeff. I want to echo that sentiment, because Michael Jordan actually said something similar about the amount of shots that he actually missed in comparison to the ones he made. He gets a lot of credit for the ones he made, but he missed a lot of shots. And he said, but it was the courage to take the shot.
Exactly. And you see, that's where we actually compliment those who start. But again, like you said, biggest thing is you don't just look at what the Joneses is doing and just feel like, okay, I'm going to be like the Joneses. And a lot of times, people start a business based on friends just saying, "Oh, you should do it. You should be doing this," or they just look in and they're just a little bit, a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous. There's certain people that knowledge, they have of something, they feel that's enough for them to run it.
Yeah.
But you really have to have a plan. And it's also something interesting that you just said is about, this is not their first rodeo. See, this is not my first rodeo. One of the things about a good entrepreneur or a true entrepreneur is that they're always looking for that niche, that next opportunity, but they have a plan. See, what you learn from the old plan, you shouldn't repeat in the second plan, right? It's funny. How I came into knowledge of Regus was actually from mistakes I made in the past. I actually had a business. I had $1 million business. We were doing $1 million a year in revenue, and we were processing like $50 million a month in checks, right? We were doing Check 21 back in the early 2000s when Check 21 just came into law. And so I was in my home and I'm processing these millions because I wrote a software that allowed merchants, we would put this in check cashing stores all over the country, because if you remember 9/11, checks could not get processed because they were stuck in trucks. And so there was a new law called the Check 21 law that came into being in 2005. So at that point in time, I had a patent for a check cashing software that took your fingerprint, took your picture. And so we said, man, what if we could process these checks, send it to the bank, and then send the money to the merchants? I will tell you, it became very successful. We were processing, like I said, $50 million a month in checks from literally Mexico was our biggest customers. They were almost $30 million a month, okay? Because, people, in the construction industry, they were mainly of Mexican descent. And they were sending these checks to families in Mexico. Very generous people. They would send their whole check. But the other side to that is that when I was doing it out of my home, I had a server. I had a nice little office set up in my house. And so one of my guys called me. He says, I'm Googling your address. And you Google, you can zoom in. Yeah. He said, I can see your house. Is that where you are doing business? If we're going to do business in the millions here,
right,
we can't be doing business out your house.
You had a kiddie pool in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Clothes on the line.
My house, trust me, my house was not looking that good. Wasn't even a kiddie pool with a bowl.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we used to dive in that bowl. But, what happened is I moved into a big office space, 3,000 square feet, 15 employees, and actually, without knowing that, I didn't have to actually go that route to impress. It wasn't even that impressive of an office, but I was like $3,000 a month in rent. And basically, I had to,
It's only $1 a square foot. That's actually a good deal. But anyway.
Yeah, it was. It was. But that's what I say. It wasn't that great of a place. You remember? But what happened there is when in 2008, when the housing market bust, we didn't think that anything was going to happen because we're processing checks. What does that have to do with us? We didn't realize, of course, now, I know that, a lot of Mexicans worked in the landscaping. A lot of them worked in the construction industry. So basically, we went from doing $50 million a month. By the way, our revenue was like 1 to 3% of all the checks that we processed. Sure. So it was very reasonable. But we went from $50 million to $15 million a month. Now, here I am, 15 employees, 3,000 square foot of office space. I had to downsize, but guess what? The office building, they didn't let me downsize that. You were locked into a contract. And so again, from that experience, of course, we lost that business. And so, again, it's my second rodeo. But the key is, though, after that, I learned that I could have just maybe had a virtual office. I could have actually had a smaller office in a Regus Center. And this is why knowledge is power. And the reason why we have you on the show, because a lot of times small business owners think that, okay, I'm getting into business. Now I need this a big, impressive office. And you spend thousands on furniture, thousands on rent, and you get locked into this. You're not even sure where the business is going to go. And then suddenly you find yourself like things are not going exactly the way you expected it. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you.
I mean,
We know.
I want to be very humble on this, and the scalability, the ability to say, I don't know what's going to be 6 months from now happening in the landscape of American business. I don't know how what's going to happen 12 months from now is going to affect my ability to do my business. Is such an important part if you are a small to mid-sized business. And if you're employing 20 or fewer people, the impact of what you can't control that could be on the horizon 6 months from now, 12 months from now, is certainly significant. It can really change the landscape of your business. And so it's making decisions for what does my business need today, and with that forecasting of where will my business be 6 and 12 months from now. And certainly, the products and services that I support and can provide, that to me is a critical piece, like you mentioned, of just things changed. And they can sometimes change on a dime. And if you're 5 years in, 7 years into a committed product, that can be devastating on a smaller business.
Yes, most definitely. And you see the cost of doing business out there. Of course, most entrepreneurs, of course, their salaries are usually your biggest cost. But next to where you're going to have your business and how you're going to run your business has a big impact. I believe one of the things that if I were to repeat that in the past, would have been to get a virtual office first. And then, so when they Googled my address, oh, okay, you're in a nice building. Okay, great. A virtual office would have been just perfect at the time.
Yeah.
But what it did, when I did that, I went to say, okay, I'm going to go full blast. Buy the office furniture, hire the people, do these things that, number one, wasn't in my plan. You know what I'm saying? And of course, when you're looking at the numbers and they're saying, well, we'll bring in another $20 million worth of business, you're saying, okay, da-da-da-da-da. Well, I can afford that $3,000 a month. Let me do it just because, But again, still, I think I could have done that without the major investment of an office and probably even hiring as much staff as I did.
Yeah.
Because at the time it was, and this is the one thing most entrepreneurs go through, is that their impression, what people want them, what they expect of you. I expect you to be in business and you're doing this much. So this image is really one of the most damaging thing, I think. Even in personal lives, you have people comparing you, well, you're supposed to be making so much money. What kind of car are you driving? Right? So those are some of the things, the pressures.
A Hyundai.
A Hyundai? I love my Hyundai. I'm sorry. I want the Hyundai Genesis.
Good.
Say oh, yes. Come on.
Yesterday,
don't tell my brother.
Club. I'm like,
Yeah,
what
the
car
Hyundais
is
are
this?
nice. I'm just saying, back
Do
then.
not
I
tell.
thought it was a Mercedes-Benz. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but I don't see the emblem. What's going on? I
Yes.
literally had to walk behind the car. It was so beautiful. I'm like,
I have loved
Hyundai.
Hyundais from the beginning. I'm sorry. My brother is a Lexus dealer, so you got a Lexus, so
I'm
he'll
a
be
Lexus
happy about you. But I keep telling
but I
him,
do like those Hyundais.
I told him, I said, man, I can get more in this Hyundai than I can get in your Lexus. Come on now. I'm getting TVs in the back seat. I got to pay extra in your Lexus. I got
Love these
reclining
commercials
seats.
we're giving.
Oh, you know what? They're gonna,
We're gonna be sponsored.
We're gonna be
That's all I'm-
sponsored. Hey, Hyundai.
Right.
Hey,
Sponsor recruited.
yes.
Wait, I need my key to my Hyundai. Key to my Hyundai. Key to my Hyundai.
You silly.
But you know, it's. But
Would you say that you just when you went out like that, you didn't plan? That was a portion of your business you really didn't plan. You just kind of acted.
I just acted.
Reacted actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Towards the expectation.
Sure,
yes.
we would have been in the money today. $3,000 money is $36,000 a year. You know,
I get it.
and you know, even though, like I said, you know, the business was making enough. At the time, it didn't give me the structure to even reduce the size or to downsize. And again, you know, working from my house, man, that would have been all profit. Not only that, it made me. I had to buy furniture. I had to buy, you know, again, all the things.
Or equipment.
Equipment. One of the things with Regus, they actually come. Basically, you can get an office that's furnished, at least with the basics, right?
Absolutely.
He's lost. He's like, really?
We do that.
You do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were responsible to write a Saturday Night Live skit on how to be debt free,
Yes.
and if you were to take that mindset, so I want to do this, I want to catch a laugh, but I want to like catch the obvious and hit somebody in the nose with it.
Yes.
I mean, you would say something like, only, and not for anything, I say that because that literally happened. It's just so old, and I'm so old. I remember this Saturday Night Live skit from back in the day, and it was back there. So good luck Googling it. But they had a guy who wrote a one-page book on how to be debt-free.
Okay.
A one-page
And it
book.
was page 1. If you look at page 1, it says, only buy the things you have the money for. And so the couple, they're getting this financial counseling in their kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. And so they look at each other and they go, I'm so confused. So I go and buy the things I want and then I pay for it. And so the guy with his one-page book says, no, you only buy the things you have the money for. I don't get it. You know? So there's your skit, and that just makes that point. And the point of how are you going to be successful in business? How are you going to be successful if you choose to jump that chasm and make that huge one step to the other side of financial independence and being reliant on your own self for your income and livelihood? And if you approach it with just that simple one-page book, there are some things you won't do. And
Yes.
there are some commitments you won't make. And I think you begin to embrace that mindset of what are the things I absolutely can't be successful without? What is the bare bone minimum that I'm going to need? And some of that is, like you said, if somebody Googles your business to decide you're down to the last 2 or you're down to the last 3 of who they're going to choose for their product or service, and then they drill into researching your company and drill into doing some due diligence before they make that final decision. You want them to choose you over your competitors, and they Google in and see your house and say, are you going to be the person I'm going to choose to process my checks? And so it's so simple. What is the absolute bare bone minimum that I can do that at least gives me physical business presence?
Presentation.
And says that I am legitimately soundly in business and that I've invested in it and I've invested wisely in it.
Yes.
So there is something to be said for that incredibly low-end entry product that gives that business concrete presence, legitimate corporate address, and such a simple financial way to do that, and only have to commit to a couple months at a time.
Well, and absolutely. And Jeff, I want to chime in, and Anthony, I want to chime in on that because it's personal experience. I didn't go and do what you did, Anthony, and went and got the big building, but I did have a customer. I was renting from one of those postal services places, and I'm not going to give nobody no free pub this morning, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And I had a mailbox there. I had a key. I could go in and get my mail. But what happened one day is I had a client that came to see me.
That's a good one.
Let's put it this way. He came to see me, but of course I wasn't there because I had nothing that was there.
Surprise, surprise.
Mailbox, and they were looking for for me. They said, I came by your office, but you weren't there. And when he said that, busted. So immediately I went and got a Regus office. I got a virtual office, and the difference was for me as a small entrepreneur is that when the guy did try to come see me again, or when a customer decided to show up, they showed up at Regus, and there was a receptionist waiting for them in the lobby who said, well, Mr. Crawford is not in right now, but, we can leave a message for him. And then, so that helped me. And we're talking about usually Class A buildings or B-plus buildings that Regus usually rents out of. So pull up the Regus, and it actually helped my business. I actually landed an account because of that.
And that is so, but the great thing I love, and we'll talk a little bit more of this as we go along, but one of the biggest things that I love is the ability to go anywhere in the country and in the world.
Yes.
I remember one time being in New York City, and it was freezing cold. I just went for one day just to work on my passport for one day. And New York was, it's nothing like here in Charlotte. I miss Charlotte. No.
Not at all.
And you see, between the buildings, you get that gush of wind. And I had no coat.
What was you thinking?
I just had a jacket. It was
it's not Charlotte.
You didn't even have to be that honest.
Hey,
we wouldn't have known.
I had to actually go to Walgreens, buy me some gloves and some hats. And I was super, and then I thought, I got a membership to Regus. So I Googled and I said, where's the nearest Regus? It was right around the corner. They're like 40 or 50 in New York. It's crazy.
A lot in New York.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I'm just like, I'm wandering the streets. I was sitting in restaurants. People's kicking me out. Get out. You're here too long.
Also, I was in L.A. one time, Anthony. I spent some time in Los Angeles, and I went to L.A., and I actually got a nice check from somebody because I had a Regus office.
Wow. But that was so powerful to be able to go into the office, sit down, work on the internet, go get something to eat, come back up, and while I was waiting on my flight, I could just stay there for the day. And it's not like a hotel where you can spend the night. I was trying to, they kicked me out. But you could at least during the day have a day office, or even use one of the centers. When you in this area right here in Charlotte, how many are there in the Charlotte area?
12 locations in Charlotte.
12. Wow. And there's some beautiful buildings that Regus decides to go into. This concept, how old is Regus?
26 years old.
26?
Yeah.
And, where did it start?
It started in Belgium.
See, I'm testing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better know your
I better
history.
know some of that.
You better
I'm impressed.
Have you been to Belgium?
I have been to Belgium. I came close. I was in Luxembourg and we did Amsterdam, and it was a college trip back when life was
Carefree.
had it by the horns, right?
Yeah, my college trip was down Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Oh, God.
In the inner city somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's great. So you actually did a tour. What college did you go to?
I went to Trevecca.
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah, please don't. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. They're thriving and doing well. I'll give proper credit to a man named Millard Reed. He's passed about 2 years ago, but he was a revolutionary influence on that campus, on that school. The school it is today. They have a physician's assistant studies program. It's a master's level. Unique to the state of Tennessee. They do satellite classes and very contemporary in today's modern world of being able to study off-campus and non-traditional. For about 2,000 full-time on-campus students.
Oh, wow. So it's a small university up there.
Right.
Did you grow up in Tennessee? Were you born in Tennessee?
No, I was born in Virginia.
Virginia. We won't hold that against you either.
Yeah, love that salt-cured ham.
What part?
And sweet tea of
sweet
Southern
tea.
Virginia.
It's sweet tea. Sweet tea.
It actually caught my attention this morning. There's a client of ours who just renewed. It's a mailbox program and virtual office as well at one of the other Charlotte locations, and they just renewed with us. So it forced me to look into Virginia of where they are. And my mom grew up in the town of Hopewell, Virginia, so that's where I spent my summers. And every Christmas as a child was waking up in Hopewell, Virginia, which is just south of Richmond. And so just those cherished childhood memories.
You're gonna love my church. There's so many people from Virginia.
Yeah.
Our bishop, he's from Richmond. So I'll tell you, boy, there's lots of Virginians down here. And that's interesting. How long did you move to Charlotte from? And how long have you lived in the Charlotte area?
14 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Moved to the Charlotte area. Yeah.
So you're a native now, right?
I feel like a local.
You feel like a local.
And then we had touched on, you have teenage boys. My boys are 10 and 7 years old, and both attend Mecklenburg schools, Rivergate Elementary, and born at Pineville CMC in South Charlotte. So when that happens, that's part of your story.
That's part of your story.
Yeah.
The town becomes home. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be in Charlotte.
It's the truth. And you know what? You'll be so glad when those boys turn 13 and 15 because then you don't have to babysit anymore.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it. I tell them all the time, you need to learn how to cook because I ain't cooking. And that's so important that as business owners that we have a place to go to, and I think that's the primary thing as you start shopping around. Now, Stephen, one of the things that you and I have talked about is also being able to schedule a time and be able to have somebody there to assist you, and a lot of times even having, because I know you guys offer services like even virtual assistants where people can answer the phone.
Sure. I mean, it's as extensive as the business needs are, and as temporary. I have a client at the Airsley location just did 2 or 3 week project on extensive phone answering, and it was unique because they were just doing some basic Q&A of everybody who was calling in, of the source, how did you find me, what prompted you to call, what are the top 2 things we need to do for you. They just really wanted to drill into that and kind of survey it for 2 or 3 weeks. So they simply paid for that simple question form to be asked of every call-in for a 2-week period of time. Outside of that, it's simply phone answering in that business name and then patched through either to a desk phone or a cell phone. But yeah, it's a compelling piece to know that you have world-class trained professionals, client-facing representatives that support you in just little small but tangible ways.
And that's really powerful because, again, sometimes you just need somebody just to answer the phone, in your company name. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a powerful thing that you guys offer. What else do you guys offer when, business coming in? Do you offer any kind of counseling to them in a sense that I know you're not supposed to, in the sense that that's not your business, but do you offer some suggestions to people when they come in?
That's a great point. I mean, where that comes in and where the yes of that answer is up and down the hallways of Regus. It's from the Chamber of Commerce events and the networking events that are part of my diet and in my calendar. And so I meet a new client, sit down with them and just drill into, hey, what are you about? What are you doing? And then I can say, you know what? You need to go talk to Anthony.
Thank you.
He's the contact. Please take time to do that. A friend of mine, Lisa Santiago, and so I don't know how many businesses I've said, you have got to meet this person because she is professionally positioning herself as a connector.
Yes.
And so whether it's business cards that you need, you're going to get the best quality at the best price. Whether it's radio advertisement that you need to purchase, she's going to help connect you to that. Whether it's whatever that project, task, equipment, capital investment that you need to make, there's certain people who can be your counsel. And that's one of the things. Our VP of sales just said recently in a conference call that he found Regus because his dad was an employee of a large bank, and they had placed him out of their corporate office in another state. And so when they did that, they didn't want to buy brick and mortar outside of their corporate global headquarters. So they placed him in a Regus office. So he goes and visits his dad. He said, so what do you think of this? I mean, what is this, and what do you think of it? He said, what it is a hallway full of resources. And he said, if there's one thing I would accuse Regus of, is they didn't tell me how valuable that was.
Wow.
When I walked in, it was just desk, chairs, walls, door, coffee, clean reception area, and on my way. And he said, what I have found is that there are all kinds of clients, there's all kinds of coaching, and there's all kinds of business networking that I'm finding up and down the hallways. And he said it's incredibly valuable beyond having a comfortable chair.
You know, that is so, and that's one of the points that I wanted to get into, is that, you know, you have been so, and the reason why you're on the show, it's because you have been so instrumental in the sense of introducing people and creating those network opportunities. No, we can't put a sign outside our door. I wish we could. But in any case, but we can actually talk to people when we get into the kitchen. We've got a lot of business actually from here. In fact, through one of the networking events, which, you know, again, you guys sponsored. We actually got introduced to the radio station, Taking Over Radio. We actually, Lisa and a few other people that were here, Don Blackwell with Icon of Success. So because of that camaraderie that you've actually kind of created, or that networking that you've created here, a lot of people don't realize, too, that your client could be next door to you. We talk to people all down the hallways, and we come to find, oh, you do that? What? Okay, you know.
Yeah.
But it's great what you actually do. Now, is this done at every Regus, or is this something that you just do?
Well, I try to do it well. It's done at every Regus. I mean, this story of the banker and his son coming in, and that's literally how he found Regus, and then went applied for a job and has been advanced to Vice President of Sales for North America. So it's happening up and down the halls of Regus Centers, where they're finding these good stories being told of connecting, networking, counseling, coaching, clients. And so hopefully I'm just another extension or story that's where it's being done well.
Well, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And even to the little bit that you help connect creates opportunities for those small businesses, because here they are. You're not just saying, okay, you pay the rent and I'm your landlord and I'm gone. Just make sure the check's in the mail. You're actually actively helping these people. I think that's so valuable, and that's why I wanted you on the show, because you know, you do more than just, like I said, take the rent. You know, one of the things that we do here on the show, and you reach one of those segments where we're gonna test you a little bit.
Again.
We're gonna put you. Monica can't rescue. In fact, she might get a karate chop. You know, as you're talking to small businesses, and of course, we talked about the capital, and we talked about, you know, their business. A lot of times, you know, a lot of these small businesses don't understand HR, or they don't understand how to actually manage. And of course, what we do, we actually help these small businesses manage their benefits for their employees. I probably see, and I won't hit you hard, don't worry about it. I probably see so many of these small businesses, and they don't have any benefits. So if the owner gets sick, and he can't afford to pay the rent because he's, you know, what does he do? You know, have you seen any circumstances like that where the owner just gets, you know, what should I say, disabled, or they can't afford to pay it anymore? Do you see owners that have those problems?
Sure. I mean, there's no substitute teacher program for the solopreneur.
Yes.
It just doesn't exist. So,
it doesn't exist.
But life happens. I mean, I had one story where it was like the perfect storm of the family pet took ill and had surgeries at the same time that the solopreneur ended up having to be hospitalized for a day or two. And it was all at once, and so that impacted the entire month, and probably took 6 weeks, 8 weeks to recover from. So, it's you know what you do, your counsel, to be able to say, you know what, Mr. Murphy of Murphy's Law, that stuff's real. It's called life.
Yes.
And so it's not that you want to over-insure and be prepared for disasters and be running around in fear, but do you have a common sense approach to life?
Yes.
Because it will happen in your business just like it happens to the teacher at school, but at the school they can call the substitute.
You know, and that is the one of the things, the reason why we started this business was, again, because we saw this. I saw when I got sick 2.5 years ago that I was in business for myself, and I was doing insurance, but I had appendicitis. And I didn't plan for that, I didn't plan to be shut down for at least 3 months, not being able to make any sales.
Right.
And that naturally created a problem where we actually got kicked out of our house. I mean, look,
Right.
I've been there. And I tell people all the time, it's the challenge of being an entrepreneur, right? But one of the biggest things that I learned, and I thank God for some of the people I deal with and some of the mentors, Stephen actually helped me get into the supplemental benefits market because I understand that as you're going through life and as you're supporting yourself, you need to have adequate protection. And like you said, not overspend, not over, what should I say? And that's the key. You actually hit on the key why it is we actually are doing this. We actually specialize in the small to medium-sized business because we want them to understand you don't have to overspend. You don't have to get this mega health insurance policy because guess what? It does nothing for you.
Right.
Most people don't understand health insurance pays the hospital. It doesn't pay you anything. So if your business, if you end up getting sick and you have to go to the hospital and you end up spending a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe you had a major heart attack, there is nobody paying your bills while you're out. You're in recovery.
Absolutely, Anthony. I want to interject in it.
Yes, go ahead.
A lot of folks, here's the other side of the coin that people are not looking at as well. It's not just you, the business owner. What if your spouse gets sick?
Wow.
See,
Thank
people
you.
don't think about that aspect of it. I'm a guy that had an ex-wife that had breast cancer. The financial devastation that happened to an entrepreneur who's already an entrepreneur now, who doesn't have a salary coming in, who has to go out here and earn, but now that person now has to go out and go in because she's got radiation today. Now you've got to take off work. You've got to do all this. So having these supplemental policies like a cancer policy or these accidental policies, they are so important, and most of the time they are very inexpensive.
That's correct.
We had that at the time, every time she went to go see the doctor, every time she had chemo done, we would have been getting a check per week just to us to use how we needed to use it.
Yeah, and that's so important. You love your kids, don't you, Jeff? I'm put you on the spot. Yeah, you love them. What happens when your children get sick or they're playing football, if they're boys, they're active, these things we don't really take into consideration as being a significant income reducer,
Right.
Because you have to either take some time off of work and you have to take care of that situation, and a lot of times we think life will take care of itself, but there are protections. We call insurance income protection.
Right.
We call it that because, number one, you have to protect your life, your income.
Right.
And so what we find, and this is your learning moment, that's all it is.
No, that's good.
If you're done.
No, I have a quick story on that.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, through networking, I found a person who's been out on his own probably 4 or 5 years in the insurance business and quite successful. And I think his kid's 12 years old or so, and suffered a concussion. I mean,
Wow.
just being a kid, like whether it was a bike, a trampoline, football, doesn't matter. I mean, you're now off to Duke University instead of off to your networking event, and you're now off to follow-up visits and appointments instead of off to going out to the local ball game where you're seeing a lot of your clients and potential future clients. And so it's where you're spending your time that's determining your tomorrow's dollars.
Yes.
Right. And I want to interject and say this also, guys. This is to every business owner that's out there that's listening to this show, and we know you're listening. At the end of the day, if you don't have it in place and something happens to one of your employees, who are they going to get the money from? Friends and family or you? So if you have these things in place, it's going to allow your staff to be able to continue with their lives, to be able to take care of the things that their check can't take care of, because now they have some of these things in place, whether it's a short-term disability, an accidental policy, a cancer, or whatever. These plans are in place that can be payroll deducted, that doesn't cost the employer any money. Matter of fact, it actually lowers your actual FICA tax by having it in place.
Yeah, a lot of employers don't know that. And it's great because here's the benefit to an employer. If your employee gets sick, you got to have somebody take their place. You may actually lose that good employee because they end up having to catch up on more bills and so forth. And, the worst thing to do is be sick and not have any money
another
coming in.
employee has had all kind of family issues, and now that person is now coming into that job.
Of course.
Maybe they need help from that other employee, but if you had it in place, you wouldn't have that. Also, let's think about from the recruiting aspect. If you have these products and services that you have for your staff and your competitor doesn't, guess who that new employee wants to go to?
That competitor, and that's the truth. Not only that, you got the overtime. If you have to pay overtime, that's more money out of your pocket. So again, these things. There's one more I want to mention to you, and that you may or may not know. Do you know what business overhead expenses insurance is?
No.
Oh, okay, great. Well, you got another learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we find is that if the business owner gets disabled or is basically unable to perform their job, there's insurance called Business Overhead Expense Insurance, BOE. And basically what it does is it allows the employees and all the bills to be paid while the employer or while the entrepreneur is getting better. How crazy is that?
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, just think about that, because you have a small business and you have employees to pay, but you are the one who makes the pay. You make the business go.
Yeah.
And when you're out, it's like, wow, I really can't work. But as long as the bills are being paid and the employee, and actually this pays up to 2 years.
Wow.
2 years.
It's disability insurance for
Disability for the owner.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but what our job in this industry is to educate small businesses on these things, because they think at some point in time, people think of insurance as just an expense, right? I think your car insurance is an expense. I haven't had a ticket in forever. I haven't had an accident in forever. But yet still people...
Knock on wood, knock on
Right.
wood.
Yeah,
That's all
I'm not knocking on any wood, because they ain't gonna never happen. Thank you.
Oh.
But here's the key. I still have insurance, and we pay for it. But what's important here is a lot of times business owners tend to put things to the side because they say, I don't need that right now. I don't need, and then they're looking, and it's understandable because you have so many decisions to make when you're in a small business, and your primary
Prioritize.
Exactly. You what you try to do is you try to prioritize. Well, I need this money for the sales.
Yeah.
I need this money for the marketing. The nice thing about a lot of these policies, they're not that expensive. Supplemental is what we call them. The second thing is even covering their life, because if you're traveling, you need to have life insurance while you're building your business, because what happens if you die while building your business? If you're trying to leave this to your family who's depending on your income, maybe you're not making that much of an income, but a little bit of insurance. You can get a 40-year-old with $500,000, $250,000 worth of insurance for about $40-50 a month. That's an investment in your family's future that you need to have in place. And I think a lot of times small business owners, they think, again, that this is an expense, but they don't understand the cost of running a business. There is stress. We are more stressed out than somebody working on a job, because we work longer hours. We put in more time. So with that stress level, we need to have more protection. And that's sometimes, I think, it's not told or not understood. Yeah. So, have you learned anything today?
No, that's incredibly helpful. It's great insight and such an obvious if you just slow down and think about it.
Yes, it is. It really, really is. So that's our job, is to educate these small businesses. And, it kind of really gives you an insight of where our passion is, why it is I come in early and leave late too, right?
No doubt.
Because we definitely know there is a need out there. There's an education out there that needs to happen. And it needs to happen quickly, because more and more, and you probably have seen this, because I know there are times that I've called you and said, well, every office is booked up. And because there are more and more people discovering that to make it in this generation, we need a small business. We need another income coming in. And of course, the easiest choice for most people is to start a small business than trying to go find a job. And so with the Reguses of the world, that helps out those people get to that next level. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to give your your thoughts and your just information how people can contact you, and we'll charge you for that too.
Right. This is going to be part of the sponsorship fee.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
No, I am so grateful to be able to sit in this morning and hopefully, just bring some validity and substance to what happens up and down these halls, and just privileged to be part of it. So I feel like, you have left no stone unturned on, just the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling of what it is that I bring, what it is that I offer. So, hopefully I'm easy to find. I'll trust, dollars, not cents.
That's right.
To point this direction. And here's one of the beauties that Regus does throughout North America. So this is not a Jeff thing.
Yes.
But Jeff would love to be your contact for this. Is depending on the threshold, it has to be a certain dollar amount spent. But if it's just simply hey, I bumped into somebody at the grocery store, they were willing to give me their business card, that is the definition of a referral. So one of the values, and for those that are listening can say, hey, I want to get in touch with Dollars Not Cents and let them know about somebody that really could benefit from what you guys talked about, is if we can get a 6-month full office or 12-month what we have virtual office. There are products that start all kinds of price points, but if the threshold is $200 a month for 12 months on a virtual product, or just simply 6 months on an office, the person who gave the referral is a $500 thank you gift card.
We'll take it.
Right.
So I would love to see those come raining from the sky. That same vice president of sales that I mentioned earlier, he has said over the last several months, as he does monthly calls with a massive team of people like me across the country, he said, for those of you who are absolutely flying these $500 gift cards out of the stack into the people who are sending referrals to you, your life at Regus will be very fun, very rewarding, and profitable for you. I said, for those of you who are going to rely exclusively on your work through the network groups, the Chamber of Commerce groups, he said, I'm telling you, life will be much more difficult for you and not nearly as profitable for you. So we just believe in the power of the spread word. Hey, I have heard of something that has tremendous value. Believe you can benefit from it. Pass that on. We obviously understand the power of that referral, and so reward it with that $500 gift card once those thresholds are met. So if that comes through,
perfect.
Anthony, I'm
Perfect.
thrilled for it.
Yeah.
Yes. I will take him all day long. Make sure you call me, Dollars Not Cents,
All right.
on takinoverradio.com. So go ahead, Monica, give your final thoughts. We'll close out. Judith, you'll go next.
Think of insurance for a small business like a tire in your car. When it goes out, you at least want to have that donut or that spare.
Oh, I like that.
I'll go on the same note, on the same tone. Think of business overhead expenses as your blanket on a cold night.
Ooh, look at her. Ooh, warm me up. I need a Regis. Steven.
Yes, they got some good ones. So all I can say is think about what your budget is and understand what a budget means.
That's right. And make insurance part of your budget. People make marketing, they make sales part of their budget. They neglect insurance. In fact, most business plans, people don't think of insurance. When they think about insurance, they think about liability. Mm-hmm. But also, you need to consider that your body, or you are the primary in your business. You need to consider yourself and how you protect yourself and your family and your employees from major disaster. So again, this is Dollars Not Cents on takinoverradio.com. We do appreciate all of you for joining us every Monday through Thursday. Today is Thursday, so we will see you guys back on Monday. We'll have some great guests next week. Of course, Monday is a Monday review and free fall, so we just have a great time here. Listen to us on Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah.
So again, if you go to dollarsnotcents.com, takinoverradio.com. Thank you, folks. Have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Dollars Not Cents radio show with your hosts, Anthony, Stephen, and Monica. Thanks for listening.